Hi, this is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger of NaturalNews.com, and I recently published a list of 20 dark predictions for 2013, 2014, and 2015. I'm going to go through those predictions for you here on InfoWars Nightly News, one by one, and give you some more details about each one. But first, let me just say, I'm on the record with Alex Jones saying that nothing would happen on the Mayan calendar day of 2012. So I'm not a kind of person who just goes and follows every doomsday prophecy or every negative prediction. Long term, I'm an optimist. But if you do the math on what's been happening in 2011 and 2012, and with the entire Obama administration, the TSA, and so on, even going back to the Bush administration and the Patriot Act, if you project that into 2013, 2014, and 2015, it looks very bad, very scary times for liberty and for America. So I'm going to go through those predictions right now and give you more details. Prediction number one, the global debt collapse arrives. And by the way, these predictions, the time frame is 3 years, so 2013, 2014, and 2015. Some of them may happen in 2013, but some may take another year or two. I do agree with people like Max Kaiser, who says that a global debt collapse is on the horizon. Whether it happens by April 2013, I'm not sure. But I do know that the global debt pyramid cannot continue. So the next point is number two, Obama administration attempts to gut the Second Amendment. Now, that's not a difficult prediction to make for those of us who have been in the loop on all this, but for the mainstream people out there, they're kind of shocked to hear that. They think Obama loves the Constitution, loves the Bill of Rights, and loves you. Hey, he even loves all those children that he's bombing in Syria and Libya and Egypt and maybe soon Iran as well, because it's all about love when you're a Nobel Peace Prize winning global war criminal, isn't it? In any case, the Second Amendment is going to be gutted, or at least an attempt will be made on gutting the Second Amendment. Point number three, martial law will be declared in America. This is a big one. I believe this will happen again sometime in the next 3 years, and it will be instigated by an event such as a global debt collapse or a false flag attack being instigated by the government itself that can then be blamed on patriots or veterans or gun owners. And we'll talk about that prediction later. That's a separate prediction. But martial law will be declared, and that will be the basis from which Obama, the constitutional scholar, if you believe that, will say that he has the right to then demand nationwide gun confiscation and control of the food supply and much more. All right, next point, prediction number four. Expect extreme shortages of guns, ammo, magazines, and all gun accessories. Now, this has already begun, but it's going to get much worse because if Dianne Feinstein has her way, obviously she's going to try to completely outlaw virtually all guns in the hands of private citizens. You can expect then, consider this to be prohibition on guns. Just like prohibition on marijuana or prohibition on alcohol, it's going to create a huge black market where guns will still be bought and sold, and ammo and magazines and many other things, but everybody will be criminalized in the process. So just as today our prisons are filled with people who smoked a joint, got caught with a little bit of pot, but otherwise are, happy working citizens and no threat to society, in the future, the prisons could be filled with people who got caught selling 50 rounds of ammo to a neighbor who tattled on them to the federal government. So expect some of that to start happening in the next few years. Next point is number five, tactical weapon strikes target Iran. I do believe that in the next probably 1 year, we will see a strike on Iran using U.S. technology. Now, obviously, Israel will likely be involved in this strike, and it may be an Israel-U.S. team that engages in these strikes, but Iran is in the crosshairs, and they want to have an excuse to go after Iran. So expect to see more of the so-called weapons of mass destruction discussion that we saw before the invasion of Iraq in the Gulf War and in Afghanistan. So watch for those kinds of signs. That lets you know that they're about to strike Iran, which will, of course, skyrocket oil prices, skyrocket gold, and cause even more ripples to spread out in the world, the global realm of politics and military might. It's going to be bad for all of humanity if that war breaks out in the Middle East. The next point, number six, a massive false flag attack will be carried out in the USA and blamed on patriots. This could be on the small side, something like a school shooting, another staged shooting, just like Aurora, Colorado, or possibly even Newtown, Connecticut. Or it could be something more medium-sized, like an Oklahoma City bombing, like we saw with the federal building. You can expect police stations or government buildings to be bombed and blamed on patriots. Or on the large side, this could be a radiological attack, a dirty bomb, for example, set off in a major U.S. city, planned by the government, carried out by the government, blamed on a patsy who is a gun owner, a veteran, a patriot, you name it. They're going to throw all those labels in there. This could hit a major U.S. city such as Chicago or Los Angeles or New York or, hey, even someplace like Houston, Texas, for example. And it will be, the media will jump on board and blame gun owners, and that will be if it happens, that will be the excuse for martial law across America. Number 7, DHS arms the TSA and begins insane abuses of Americans on roadway checkpoints. You can expect, see, the building of the TSA has been the creation of an army of evil, an army of people who have no ethics, no law enforcement training whatsoever, who have never sworn an oath to the Constitution. The DHS can't wait to continue to grow that army. It's kind of like an army of pedophiles and thieves. Imagine a bunch of pedos running down the street with guns pointed at your head and running roadside checkpoints. That's what we're going to get with the TSA. So you can expect Americans to start being pulled over at TSA roadside checkpoints and raped by the TSA. Your children will be molested by the TSA if this prediction comes true, if this is rolled out. They will steal anything of value in your pockets. They especially love to go in your pockets, but they could steal things out of your cars or trucks or motorhomes. They will steal your loot just like they do at the airport, and they will rape your wives and daughters and children at the same time. That will be rolled out across America, and it is one of the main signs of the coming police state. It's already here. They're just going to make it worse. All right, next prediction is number 8, the rise of the resistance. You can expect that the worse these abuses of rights and liberties get in America, the stronger the resistance will become. And this resistance can take many forms. Right now, there is already an online resistance, which is InfoWars, for example. But there could be, if this gets bad enough, a physical resistance where people actually take up arms, have teams, and actually commit sabotage acts against the government, or try to even, for example, kill TSA agents by using sniper rifles or other means, explosives, things like that. This is really the beginning of an all-out war in America, a kind of civil war, if it happens. Now, again, just to reiterate, I hope none of these things happen. But this is sadly where I think it's headed, because the government has abandoned the Bill of Rights, abandoned the Constitution, abandoned liberty, and is trying to literally round up and exterminate all those who believe in liberty. Now, the next prediction here, number 9, attacks on the First Amendment accelerate as government seizes websites. I am predicting that the government will sooner or later begin to shut down and seize websites like NaturalNews.com, my site, and Infowars.com, and others. We are working on a technology right now, a peer-to-peer technology that can bypass that and still maintain what I call an information underground railroad, so that all of you will be able to stay in touch with us using a non-centralized, distributed content, peer-to-peer encrypted system. We're building that right now with the help of many, many volunteers, and I'll keep you posted on that. I'm sure InfoWars will be announcing that when it is available sometime in 2013. That's my number 1 priority, because we know the censorship is coming. Facebook recently, as you know, censored our Gandhi quote and shut down dozens of websites that were pro-Second Amendment and pro-gun rights. It's just the beginning, folks. It's going to get much worse throughout 2013, 2014, and 2015. All right, the next prediction is number 10. The rise of violent rhetoric among the population as disagreements turn to threats. We've already seen many liberals, so-called liberals, saying that they really want to kill conservatives. They want to kill the NRA president, for example. They want to kill people who own guns. They're all about extermination. That's what they believe in. They are Adolf Hitler wannabe people. They love the idea of mass murder of anybody who doesn't believe in worshiping big government. But their rhetoric continues to become more aggressive. And at the same time, the conservatives are becoming more aggressive in saying, we're not going to put up with this. We may actually take up arms, as some of the comments that I'm hearing across the internet, even posted on Facebook and Twitter and elsewhere. So you can expect that this could result in isolated conflict, even shootouts or acts of violence among these people throughout the next 3 years. Again, I don't want to see that coming, but it could happen. All right, the next prediction is number 11. The global government makes its move. You can expect that the worst things get in the United States, especially if there is martial law declared and if there are any outbreaks of violence. You can expect the UN to then launch a so-called peacekeeping mission into invading the United States. We could see United Nations troops with their blue helmets occupying American cities and calling it peace. Steve Quayle was right about this. He's been predicting this for a long time, the Russian troops stationed in the U.S., for example. And he says there are a lot of troops stationed here. For a long time, I didn't believe that, but now I think he may be actually correct. Even if they're not stationed here, they could be flown in, and there could be an invasion force from the United Nations that comes into the U.S. and begins occupying America with its peace. And of course, hey, they will also drop peace bombs on U.S. cities or rebel installations, and they can also shoot you with peace bullets. That's what they bought recently, the 1.6 billion rounds of peace bullets. Not only do they stand for peace, but they will, of course, leave you in pieces if you stand in the way of them. But that's what the liberals want, to destroy any resistance and take over America under a new communist regime, possibly led by Obama. All right, next prediction. Number 12, accelerated mainstream media attacks on patriots, preppers, and veterans. You can expect veterans to continue to be demonized, as well as all gun owners who will be labeled terrorists. This isn't a difficult prediction, but you'll see it accelerated even in movies as well. Expect attacks on men. Anybody who is macho will be attacked. Anybody who believes in standing up for the Bill of Rights will be attacked. And again, possibly labeled terrorists, possibly rounded up and thrown into FEMA camps. Number 13, the disagreement with the government will be characterized as a mental disorder. We're going to see the very aggressive application of psychiatry in classifying critical thinking people as having mental disorders. This is straight out in 1984 and some other dystopian sci-fi novels as well. They will medicate you if you can think for yourself. The point of the medication will be to make you conform, to shut down your critical thinking skills, which is partially what fluoride already does, and make sure that you can't even think a thought that is against the government. So just being born as an intelligent human being is going to be considered a crime against the system, and you will be treated with psychiatric drugs and thrown in the gulag until you repent and admit that Obama is your savior. Just like Jamie Foxx says right before he says, let's kill all the white people. Isn't that great? Next prediction, number 14. Continued rise in unemployment, food stamps, and welfare as Obama accelerates the deliberate destruction of the U.S. economy. The step-by-step gutting of the economy is continuing, in fact, accelerating, so you can expect Obama to continue his plan to destroy America and make everyone a government slave and a government servant. That's also great for the re-election of people who hand out things to their voters. So the voters will only, once they're past a majority, which I think we're already there, they will only vote for the candidate that offers them the most handouts. Free Obama phones, or whoever the next candidate is. Free phones, free food stamps, free food, free, so-called health care, even though it's really just disease care. That's the name of the game. That's who's going to win future elections. Next prediction. Number 15, the criminalization of preparedness activities as the government outlaws ammo storage and other things. So if you are, quote, hoarding ammo, which will probably mean owning anything over 500 rounds of any caliber, you could be criminalized, thrown in jail, and have all your ammo confiscated. This is coming. You can also be arrested, I think, in the near future for hoarding, quote, hoarding food or owning any kind of supply in large quantities. The idea is to paint preppers and survivalists as terrorists or wackos, and then to make sure that the American people live in a system of day-to-day dependence on government deliveries of food, medicine, water, and, of course, quote, protection under, government-organized local police who are going to be increasingly the TSA reaching down your pants. The point is, they don't want you to be prepared. They don't want you to be self-sustaining. They don't want you to be able to survive anything that's coming. All right, next prediction. Number 16, riots in the streets followed by martial law. I mentioned this earlier, but it's a separate prediction that at some point, probably following the financial collapse, we will see riots in the streets across the American cities, not in the countryside, obviously, and not in every city, but in major U.S. cities. This will be most likely, government will have agents in these riots who will be instigators, and their job is to throw Molotov cocktails at targets or even start shooting firearms in order to give the government the justification to shut down all protests and all riots. That's how it will play out. And then they will use that, if someone gets killed in one of those riots, they will use that as the justification to declare martial law, which I mentioned earlier. All right, next prediction. Number 17, deliberate food shortages used as a weapon of government control. Food will be a weapon, and once martial law is declared, the government will probably put in place price controls on foods. That will cause immediate food shortages across grocery stores all across the country. This will then result in a reactionary, alarmist seizing of the food distribution hubs by the Obama administration under the declaration of martial law. Once the government owns the food distribution hubs or controls them, it will then selectively deliver food to areas that are agreeing to go along with Obama and to go along with martial law. Food will then be denied to the geographic areas that have a large contingent of rebels, let's say, rebellion members who are not going along with the program. So you can expect states like Texas, for example, which is going to be very resistant to Obama martial law or an Obama police state. Texas may resist this, and Obama will probably use his power under martial law to deny food deliveries to the state of Texas. Remember, Texas has already been threatened with an economic embargo when the state legislature threatened to criminalize the TSA's molestation of air travelers at Texas airports. So there's already a precedent for this happening. All right, next prediction, number 18. Weather becomes even more radicalized with droughts, floods, and freezes. The only reason this is important is because this will further cause disruptions in the food supply. So this is a good time to shore up your storable foods and make sure you're ready to make it through any kind of food disruptions. The weather can get crazy in 2013 and beyond. So we already had a lot of droughts and freezes and floods in 2012. That's going to cause food inflation in 2013. That's already, coming our way. That's inescapable. But beyond that, it's going to get even worse because weather patterns could get crazy. And related to that is the next prediction, number 19. The solar weather gets nasty. Solar flares threaten communications and more, actually. A medium-sized solar flare will, of course, threaten satellites that are in orbit, communications satellites, and lots of broadcasts, and even emergency services such as 911 response services. But if a sufficiently large solar flare strikes the Earth, which only happens about once every century or so, it could actually cause a total grid down scenario, complete grid failure, potentially followed by meltdowns of hundreds of nuclear power plants that can no longer fuel their backup generators or even run their cooling pumps. That's a total nightmare scenario. I'm not predicting that scenario for 2013. There's only about a 1% chance of that happening in any given year. But in a lifetime, that's a very real risk, and that's something that we need to be thinking about because we've never been hit by a large solar flare during modern civilization. The last time one hit was in, I think, the mid-1800s when there wasn't much technology around and people didn't depend on technology. If we get hit now, it's going to be bad news. I mean, worst case, Mad Max scenario. Go out and read those books by James Wesley Rawls because you're going to need all those skills. All right, last prediction, number 20. You will be told, no matter what happens, that the answer to all these problems is more government. That's right. If anything goes wrong, anything that I just mentioned above, all these predictions, food shortage, riots, financial failure, whatever the case is, you will be told that the only reason those problems happen is because government isn't big enough yet. If we could just give government more power, more control, more money, and give it more of the economy, in fact, like a centralized command, control, top-down, communistic economy, then all the problems will be solved. That's what we're being told. And of course, that's nonsense. The answer to all of this is actually to make government much smaller, to have a free market, to have more liberty, more individual power, power distributed across a true republic, instead of centralized in the hands of a few globalist criminals who are trying to dominate our lives. So those are the 20 predictions. Again, long term, I'm an optimist. I hope none of these happen. But doing the math, folks, this is what it looks like we're going to be facing in the very near future. Get ready. I hope you have stored ammunition, firearms, food, medicine, communications gear, water filtration devices, everything. I know you can find a lot of that at the InfoWars store, so please support InfoWars by getting those items there as you can. But other items you're going to have to get elsewhere, such as firearms and ammo, so get on it. You better be prepared for what's coming. It's going to be a dark year ahead. I hope we can have an optimistic recovery and a restoration of the republic on the other side of all this, but there's a dark storm coming, so get ready for it. That's my report. Mike Adams of NaturalNews.com for InfoWars Nightly News.